It's been a while since I recorded a video. Let's see if I still got it. Now, as a non-Minnesota resident, when you hear the phrase the Twin Cities, your brain probably immediately thinks that we're talking about Minneapolis and Saint Paul. But if you're talking to a Minnesotan, the Twin Cities doesn't actually mean what you think it does. What does it mean, you ask? Stay tuned to find out. What's going on, guys? Brandon Archie here, aka your favorite Minnesota realtor, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys a quick masterclass on everything you need to know about the Twin Cities, as well as what the phrase actually means. But first, as always, if you are thinking about moving to Minnesota, whether it be now or next year, then shoot me an email at brandon@archiehomesgroup.com so that we can schedule a meeting to talk about what it is you're looking for and put together a plan to make your move as smooth as possible. Now, let's get started. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that everybody knows that the biggest cities in Minnesota are Minneapolis and Saint Paul. So it's only right that you would think that the term the Twin Cities is referring to them. But a little fun fact that even a lot of Minnesotans may not even know is that the term Twin Cities never actually included Saint Paul to begin with, and actually referred to Minneapolis and the bordering city of St. Anthony in the mid-1800s. Now, over the following years though, as St. Paul continued to grow, it then took over St. Anthony as being considered as one of the Twin Cities, alongside its sister city of Minneapolis. But unfortunately, when a Minnesotan talks about the Twin Cities, we're not talking about Minneapolis, St. Paul, or St. Anthony. What we're referring to is the entire metro area surrounding Minneapolis and Saint Paul, and this is where the masterclass begins. Okay, so in order for me to fully explain this properly, it's better if I show you on a map. So for us as Minnesotans, the Twin Cities encompasses all of the cities up to a 30-minute radius of Minneapolis and Saint Paul. Now, those of you watching this from bigger cities like Texas, Arizona, or California may be thinking to yourself that 30 minutes doesn't actually get you anywhere. But here in Minnesota, that's pretty far away. In fact, you can get from one side of the Twin Cities all the way to the complete opposite side in about 45 minutes. And the biggest reason for that is our infrastructure. Now, I recently did a video when I went to Texas for the first time ever, and driving down there was terrible. Now, if you want to see what my experience was with Texas versus Minnesota, then you can watch that video here. But the highways and exits were so hard to understand, and it was really difficult trying to navigate and make sure I was going the right way. On top of that, if you missed your turn, you were probably adding at least an extra 10 minutes minimum to your commute before you could even turn around. But here in Minnesota, our highway system is laid out so easily that you can typically get anywhere in less than 30 minutes. Now, we have multiple ways to get to the same destination, and that's what makes it so quick to get places, despite how big the Twin Cities is. Now, our main highways running east and west are 694, 394, and 94, with a couple of smaller highways also running east and west like Highway 55, 62, and 7. Then running north and south, you have 494, 169, Highway 100, 35W, and 35E. With all of these different highways, you really don't have to worry too much about commute times. In fact, Minnesota was ranked number 4 in the country for infrastructure. Now, as a disclaimer though, rush hour is obviously going to add some commute time, but that's going to be the same regardless of what city you're in. Now, the main reason why I wanted to point out commute times and how big the Twin Cities is because there's a good amount of people that reach out to me about moving here specifically that say they want to be at least an hour away from Minneapolis. But because of how easy it is to get places here, most people don't realize just how far an hour away from Minneapolis actually is. Now, which is understandable if you're coming from a big city or a city that doesn't have the best infrastructure. Now, for those looking for a little bit of land in the Twin Cities area, availability is definitely going to heavily depend on exactly how much land you're looking for, as well as what your price range is. Now, if you're looking for about an acre or so, then you'll likely have to go to cities on the outer ring of the Twin Cities, like Andover to the north, or Lakeville to the south, or even Lake Elmo to the east, or Rogers to the northwest. And again, these cities are on the outer edge of the Twin Cities, which means that they're about 30 minutes away from Minneapolis. Other than that though, the average lot size of homes within the Twin Cities will typically be around a quarter acre to a half acre or so. Now, obviously towards the lower end if you get closer and closer to the city, and on the higher end if you get further out into the suburbs. And this is not to completely say that it's impossible to find an acre of land within the Twin Cities, but it's more so saying that it's definitely not the norm, and it doesn't really happen that often unless your budget is over $800,000. Now, if you're the kind of person who's looking for no neighbors at all, then you're not gonna find that within the Twin Cities. Now, the pandemic completely changed the landscape of real estate as we know it in most cities, and here in Minnesota isn't any different. Cities that used to be nothing but farmland and offered that kind of privacy are now being expanded into, and new communities are popping up everywhere as the Twin Cities continues to expand upwards, outwards. So if you're looking for a place where you have no neighbors, then you could be looking at over an hour away from the Twin Cities, depending on which direction you go. Now, speaking of directions, each section of the Twin Cities is gonna have a different feel, available options, price ranges, etc. So it's really important to understand what you're actually looking for so that you can narrow down your search to specific areas, especially if you haven't been here before. Now, I broke a lot of these areas down in my 5-part series called Where to Live in Minnesota, where I talked about each section of the Twin Cities and broke down the differences between them. Now, these videos aren't in any particular order, but if you want to start watching that series, you can do that here. Now, before I briefly get into a little bit of the more basic differences between the sections, if you are finding this video helpful so far, then please make sure to hit that like button for me. And if you are looking for more content like this, then also please consider subscribing. Now, to get into the very basics of the layout of the Twin Cities, we can break it down into the first ring suburbs, northern suburbs, east, south, and west. Now, you also have the northwest, southwest, etc., but for the sake of not making this video too complicated, we'll just stick to the basics. Now, the first ring suburbs are exactly how they sound, and they are the first ring suburbs that border Minneapolis and Saint Paul. And in these suburbs, you're gonna get a combination of suburb and city. Now, you'll have all your basic necessities nearby, as well as plenty of public transportation options, and some things like local coffee shops and diners may even be walkable. Cities like St. Louis Park, Edina, or Richfield on the Minneapolis side, or Roseville, Maplewood, or Inver Grove Heights on the St. Paul side. Now, if you're looking for homes with character, plenty of transportation options, and a combination of city and suburb, then the first ring suburbs may be for you. Next is the east, which would include cities like Woodbury, Oakdale, and Stillwater. Now, Stillwater has a very chill, almost small town vibe and is one of the most beautiful cities in the Twin Cities. It's right on the Wisconsin border and sits along the Mississippi River. Now, Woodbury is another city which has a lot to offer with all the shops, restaurants, and overall convenient. It's also one of the fastest growing cities in Minnesota right now, and I usually call it the Maple Grove or even the Edina of the East. Now, it's a very family-focused city with plenty of room left to grow, but it is on the more expensive side. Overall, if you're looking for a home with some good charm or looking for new construction, the east is a good place to look. Now, the south is another area of the Twin Cities that's rapidly growing right now, like cities like Apple Valley, Lakeville, Prior Lake, and more. Now, Lakeville is currently growing even faster than Woodbury is, with more housing options being built and more businesses moving to the area. Cities like Burnsville and Apple Valley are pretty affordable for the most part, but once you start talking about Prior Lake and Lakeville, then it definitely starts to get more expensive. Now, if you're looking to be in a place that's in the midst of expansion and you have the budget, then the south may be a good option for you as well. Next up is the west, which is home to Minnesota's most expensive homes, and those are gonna be in cities like Wayzata, Orono, and Minnetrista. Now, all of these cities are on what is arguably Minnesota's most popular lake, which is Lake Minnetonka, and where the vast majority of Minnesota's ultra-wealthy live. In fact, Minnesota's most expensive listing is actually currently on the market, which is an 8-bed, 18-bath, 29,000 square foot home in Wayzata. But you don't have to worry, because although the west is where the most expensive homes are, there's still cities in this area that aren't as expensive, like Plymouth, Minnetonka, and although it's technically southwest, I'm gonna throw in Eden Prairie in there as well. Now, the west is a very popular area of the Twin Cities, and it's not just for the lake. It's actually because if school districts are important to you, then it's important to note that Minnesota's top 3 school districts just happen to be Wayzata, Minnetonka, and Eden Prairie. And lastly, you have the north, which is probably the most affordable area of the entire Twin Cities and includes areas like Blaine, Coon Rapids, and Andover. I also recently ranked Coon Rapids as one of my top 5 most affordable cities in the Twin Cities, which if you want to see that entire list, you can watch that video here. Now, Coon Rapids is a very diverse city and has homes in every price range. Now, I personally do a lot of business there because there are quite a few options for first-time home buyers. Blaine is also a city that has a lot going for it, and it's a little more expensive than Coon Rapids, but it's a great option for anyone looking for a great city without the price tag of the cities in other areas. Blaine was also actually a part of my list of fastest growing cities here in the Twin Cities. Now, here you'll have a good amount of options, especially if you're looking for homes that are a little bit newer than Coon Rapids. And in Andover, the homes start to get a little bit bigger, but don't cost that much more than they do in Blaine. seeing how you're now getting to the outskirts of the Twin Cities, but you're still only 30 minutes away from Minneapolis. And as mentioned earlier in this video, homes in Andover will typically have bigger lots than other cities in the Twin Cities. Now, if you currently live in Minnesota and you have any more insight to any of these areas that you'd like to share that I didn't already cover, then feel free to leave a comment below. But in the meantime, if you are still considering moving here, there are some common mistakes that you should avoid at all costs. And you can find out what those are by watching this video next.